Dubai sold the golden visa as a breakthrough. What it actually sold was a residency product attached to a market risk. That distinction matters now more than ever, because a visa tied to a rising asset feels like security. A visa tied to a falling asset feels like leverage against yourself. And that is the trap. For years, the pitch was simple. Buy property in Dubai, secure long-term residency, bring your family, build a life, get out of the endless employer-sponsored visa cycle, stop being temporary. The real estate industry marketed it as if Dubai had solved the one structural weakness everyone already knew the city had: impermanence. Then the market turned. Then the strikes came. Then the airport was hit. Then the stock exchange shut for 2 days. Then buyer inquiries fell 45%. Then private jet charters were quoted at $250,000. Then people holding property-linked residency had to confront the clause that matters more than all the marketing copy combined. If you sell the qualifying property, the golden visa must be canceled. That is not a rumor. That is not an interpretation. That is the product. And once you understand that, the golden visa stops looking like stability and starts looking like a compliance lock attached to a volatile asset. The golden visa program was expanded in 2022. The minimum investment threshold was reduced to 2 million dirhams, roughly $545,000. That change mattered because it pulled the program out of ultra-elite territory and turned it into something globally marketable to a much wider class of investor. Suddenly, the message was no longer just for billionaires or exceptional cases. It was for professionals, founders, upper-middle-class expatriates, international families, people already in Dubai who wanted something that felt closer to permanence, people outside Dubai who wanted access to it. Then came the 2024 reforms. The previous minimum down payment requirement on mortgaged property, 1 million dirhams, was removed. You could now qualify even on an off-plan property you had barely started paying for, provided you had the paperwork the system wanted. That was the moment the golden visa became more than an immigration pathway. It became a sales engine. A residency program attached to off-plan real estate in a market already running hot is not just an immigration product. It is demand stimulus. And that is exactly how it was used. The marketing formula was almost perfect. No personal income tax, world-class infrastructure, global city, safe haven, 10-year renewable residency, family included. No employer dependence, no need for a local sponsor, lifestyle plus legal access plus investment upside. What part of that pitch do you think most people focused on? Not the cancellation clause, not the legal distinction between residency and citizenship, not the possibility that the underlying asset might correct. They focused on the emotional promise embedded inside the transaction. Buy this, and you stop being temporary. That is what people thought they were buying. That is not what they bought. They bought residency. Residency is conditional. Citizenship is structural. Dubai offered the first, and let people emotionally confuse it with the second. The difference between those two things is the whole story. Here is the legal architecture underneath the product. The golden visa is renewable long-term residency. It is not citizenship. It does not confer political rights. It does not create automatic permanent belonging. It does not remove the state's discretion from the larger system. It does not turn a foreign resident into a member of the polity. And the broader path to United Arab Emirates citizenship remains extraordinarily narrow. 30 years of legal residency, Arabic fluency, clean record, government nomination, selective approval. That is not an accessible mass pathway. That is a gate, which means the golden visa was never a bridge to full belonging, in the way many buyers psychologically interpreted it. It was a more comfortable form of temporary status, a longer lease on legal presence. That might still be useful. In many cases, it is useful, But usefulness and security are not the same thing. And the real estate industry had every incentive to blur that line. Because 10-year renewable residency linked to a qualifying asset under revocable conditions is a much harder emotional sell than buy property and secure your future in Dubai. So the industry simplified it, and simplification is where traps are born. Dubai's property market surged roughly 60% from 2022. Off-plan sales dominated transactions. In the third quarter of 2025, 76% of all sales activity was off-plan. Fitch warned of a 10 to 15% residential correction before any missile flew. UBS ranked Dubai fifth highest in global real estate bubble risk in September 2025. Those are not fringe warnings. Those are major institutional signals. And they matter because a property-linked residency product behaves very differently in a rising market than it does in a correcting one. In a rising market, the golden visa feels elegant. Your qualifying asset appreciates. Your legal status remains intact. You feel smart, early, secure. In a correcting market, the psychology flips. Now the asset is not just an investment. It is also the thing your residency depends on. That changes decision-making immediately. A rational investor might sell a weakening asset. A rational parent with children in school, a business registered locally, bank accounts, staff, leases, and a legal life built around the visa may not. So the asset stops behaving like a simple asset. It becomes a residency hostage. That is the trap. It is not that the clause was hidden. It is that the structure changes how freely you can act when the market turns against you. You are no longer just asking if you should sell. You are asking what happens to your right to remain if you do. And once that question enters the room, price discovery gets emotionally distorted. People hold positions longer than they otherwise would, not because the asset is strong, because the exit cost is bigger than the financial loss alone. That is how visa-linked assets stop being pure investments and start becoming control mechanisms, not necessarily by sinister design in every case. Functionally, that is what they become. Then February 2026 happened. The strikes mattered physically, financially, and psychologically. Dubai International Airport was struck and evacuated. The airspace was disrupted. Private jet charters were quoted at $250,000. Buyer inquiries fell 45%. The real estate index fell 30% in 5 trading sessions. The stock exchange closed for 2 days. This is when the golden visa's design became visible, because people were no longer dealing with theory. They were dealing with immediate fear, immediate uncertainty, immediate illiquidity, and immediate questions about whether they should stay, leave, hold, sell, transfer, wait, or restructure. And in that moment, the property was no longer just a home or an investment. It was the compliance anchor keeping the visa alive. That is the kind of product that feels brilliant in a brochure and claustrophobic in a crisis. Think about the structure from the perspective of an owner in an oversupplied district. You bought because the market was rising. You accepted the pitch that Dubai was safer, richer, more stable, more global, more efficient than the alternatives. You were told this was not just an investment, it was a long-term life move. Now the market is softening, supply is surging, fear is real, liquidity is weaker. Your qualifying property may be one of thousands of similar units coming into a market Fitch already warned about. What do? If you sell, you trigger the visa issue. If you hold, you may be preserving residency by absorbing losses. If you wait, you are making a bet on both market recovery and political stability. The product has forced 3 separate risks: immigration risk, market risk, and geopolitical risk into one decision. That is bad structure. Not because nobody should ever buy under it, because most buyers were not trained to see how dangerous that bundling becomes under stress. There is another reason the golden visa story matters. It reveals the deeper truth about Dubai's model. Around 89% of the population are expatriates. The city runs on non-citizen labor, non-citizen expertise, non-citizen spending, and non-citizen capital. The state has chosen to attract global talent and global wealth without converting most of that presence into full membership. That is not hidden. It is policy. The Golden Visa was marketed as if it softened that reality. In practice, it monetized it. Instead of solving impermanence, it created a premium tier of impermanence: longer, more comfortable, more prestigious, more family-friendly. Still impermanence. That is why the product becomes so psychologically powerful. It gives the feeling of having advanced beyond the temporary class without actually exiting the underlying legal logic of the system. You feel less contingent, but you remain contingent. And when things are calm, that distinction is easy to ignore. When conditions change, it becomes the only distinction that matters. None of this means the Golden Visa has no value. It has value. It may be extremely useful for many people, but useful is not the same as what it was sold as. It was sold emotionally as stability. Its real nature is conditional residency linked to asset compliance. Those are not the same thing. The smart question is not, is the Golden Visa good or bad? The smart question is, what risks am I bundling together when I use a volatile real estate asset as the legal foundation of my residency? If the answer includes oversupply risk, correction risk, liquidity risk, and cancellation risk, then you are no longer evaluating a lifestyle upgrade. You are evaluating a structure, and structures deserve more respect than marketing language usually gives them. So if you're considering Dubai property for Golden Visa purposes, ask harder questions. What happens if prices correct? What happens if your district is oversupplied? What happens if you need to sell quickly? What exactly happens to the visa if you do? What are you buying? Residency, flexibility, upside, or an obligation you may be reluctant to exit because too much of your life is attached to it? Those questions do not make the product worthless. They make your analysis adult. And without that adult analysis, what looks like security can turn into self-imposed financial paralysis very quickly. If your residency in Dubai is tied to a property, or if an agent pitched you the Golden Visa like it was a substitute for real permanence, drop it in the comments. Because the most important sentence in the brochure is usually the one nobody reads until the market turns. And if you want more breakdowns of how policy, property, and marketing get bundled into products people misunderstand, subscribe. And I will see you in the next one.